we're talking about standards, if we're talking about curriculum, if we're talking about tests, if we're talking about punishments and rewards, we've done that now for 30 years. We've got a wealth of data. It does nothing except tell you that we have a problem.
Well, I guess they would say, perhaps, and I don't know, we'll see what the final version of this bill looks like, is that this would go a step further, and some of those sanctions would be, you know what, your school is not going to be open, or you're maybe going to lose some funding as a result of failing.
The punishments have always been there. It's been part of accountability from the very beginning. And so to say that, you know, we're going to get harder. Now think about it, you know, we're going to now take away from you things you don't have to begin with now anymore, because we know some of the things that cause failure. So when a kid comes to school that hasn't been enriched in the arts, and we're going to defund that public school, take away money, they can't offer arts anymore, that doesn't help the kids. So it's not accountability, that's punishment. That's like Hunger Games for kids.
Do you feel like the legislature has a legitimate claim, or do you feel like that's not their
you know, it's one of these things, you know, when we talk about government, get government out of it, right? I mean, for me, the evidence is clear that they're not up to the job of working with schools. In fact, the whole idea of we're going to look at legislators to fix issues dealing with education, learning, cognition, community development within the school, the social structure, the hearts of the communities, the public schools. Why would we ever ask politicians? And when I wake up in the morning and my chest hurts, I don't call my local representative to say, hey, what should I do? What can you do for me? I call the doctor. This is the part where we say, they've now failed miserably. We've got a failed legislature with failed legislators that have just totally ruled the school accountability now for 30 years. They've made a disaster of it. They've done very great, though, at funneling money to places it doesn't need to go, which is to large testing corporations, large data corporations that are telling us things that any school teacher could have walked in and told you after 3 days. We've got you know, developmental psychologists. You've got people who understand learning, who understand teaching, who understand curriculum, those people have not been a part of this conversation. In fact, they've been kicked out of this conversation, and because these are the people that know what really...
Would you say, as long as this council that is created for DPI to look at these standards and so forth, and to look at this accountability bill, would have the right people on it, you would be okay with that?
I think it's a place to start. Are we going to be open from the very beginning to, first of all, let's not talk about it. I really like this idea. Let's not talk about accountability. Let's talk about transparency. What is the goal we're going to have here? If the goal is, at the end of the day, simply, though, a way to figure out how we create failing report cards, as we just said, we know where those are. We already know that. The data points tell us. We take a poverty map, we take a failing schools map, we lay them on top of each other. They coincide very nicely. We don't need to do that anymore. We need to get at what's actually happening, particularly in high poverty, racially segregated schools. We need to do the things that work.